Morning, everybody. We're gonna get started. First up, we have Emma that's gonna be presenting for us. Take it away, Emma.
Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm super grateful to be a part of this forum and believe real awareness and change can come from this. Last month, I got to sit in and hear from some amazing students and learn about the big picture 6 measures. I walked away feeling inspired and thinking about how connected all 6 measures really are and how they apply to me. Let me start by telling you a little bit more about myself. My name is Emma Reese. I'm 16 years old. I'm a junior in high school and I'm Mexican Filipino. You know how some people are really into sports or dance or books or something like that? Well, I'm really into theater, art, anime, and gardening. Yes, you heard that correctly, gardening. I know what you might be thinking, but I would like to shed some light on what that means for me. Yes, gardening is about growing and providing healthy nourishment for our bodies through all the beautiful and yummy vegetation grown. And that is a very big part of why I do it, but it is also so much more than that as well. Gardening has become my escape, my refuge, my sanctuary, my hope, my peace, my platform for education, and even social change and justice. Just like things in life, gardening is what you put into it. It truly is a labor of love, but don't get me wrong, it could be an extremely tough love because it's a lot of hard work and perseverance and patience and often a trial and error. But in the end, you produce something pretty magical. You bring to life these tiny little seeds, something so small that grows into something so amazing and full of life, all while nourishing my body, but equally nourishing my soul. Gardening has become a part of me and definitely has tested my limits and taken me to lengths I never thought I was capable of. A few of my projects I have done were growing 200 heads of lettuce for my school salad bar, a hummingbird garden, a tea garden, a Frida Kahlo garden, a medicinal garden, a project on landscape architecture, a 17 garden, and a project on Japanese gardens. I'll be using a few of these projects as examples for the measures today. My goal is to give you a glimpse of my journey with gardening and all that it has to offer. Maybe even open your eyes to its benefits and intrigue you to start your own gardening adventure. So, as you guys know, these are the 6 measures: nourish, social, caution, chill, recharge, and move. But today I'll be going over these 3 measures due to the time constraint. So I'll be going over chill, nourish, and social. First, let's start with chill. How I started gardening. When I was 8 years old, I realized that we spend so much of our time at school. And yes, it's supposed to be a place of learning, but I really wanted there to be a place of peace, serenity, and honestly, I just wanted to create a garden to beautify the grounds and make people smile. I never knew that this project would turn into such a passion for gardening or become my safe space. It was a success amongst both kids and adults who would gather around the garden for recess and lunch to relax and or meditate. I would make flower bouquets for the teachers, staff, and for the kids who were just having a bad day. Because the most simple act can change someone's entire mental state. All right, middle school. We all know middle school can be a tough and is a very awkward age. I was in a very small class, and it was like they woke up and one day just decided to hate me. It wasn't until then I noticed that I was different. Growing up, I was never taught to see anybody for their race, color, or ethnicity, but for who they are. But all of a sudden, that was their only focus on me. My skin was too dark, I was too small, I wore glasses, my feet were too small, my hair was too long, and just a lot of really dumb things like that. And the people who I thought were my best friends also turned on me. They would laugh at me, call me names, hurl insults at me, and make fun of me for just trying to do positive things. So I was the kid who always volunteered to feed the class pet during lunch so I could hold in all of my tears. In actuality, I was pretty small though. I was only around maybe like 4'8" and maybe 60 pounds in the 6th grade. So, I mean, that is pretty small, I guess. But yet there I was, the 4'8", 60-pound little girl, toiling the soil, building garden beds, planting seeds, fixing the irrigation, weeding the garden, and harvesting all the produce. In my garden, I truly felt like I was 6 feet tall and could accomplish anything. The crazy thing is no matter how bad my day was, I knew that in an hour I would be able to go and be in my garden, my safe space. It was then I knew I wasn't going to let them break my spirit. I was going to continue to be me, even if that meant only having a few friends. My mom would always say that it's harder to do the right thing and easier to do the wrong thing, but the true reward will always be greater or something like that. So I would have to grit and bear it. But do you really know how hard that is? Like, that was so hard for me to do. But here is a picture of me when I first started gardening. And if you look, this plant is called straw flower, this flower. But if you look, it actually looks like a heart, which I thought was really cool at the time. And I also think it's really cool now. So all of those events actually prompted me to research strong women. And that's where my love for Frida Kahlo began. Frida Kahlo was a Mexican painter known for her many portraits, self portraits, and works inspired by nature and Mexico's artifacts. She was very out of the box, and some people would say before her time. She questioned and explored identity, gender, class, and race in Mexican society. Her paintings had strong autobiographical elements and mixed realism with fantasy. To me, Frida is mystical, magical, unapologetic, and authentically herself. She never ever made excuses. She used her pain and struggles as inspiration. She was thrown so many obstacles her way, and here's a woman who laid in a full body cast after being in a bus accident. You can actually see her painting her full body cast right here. I was so inspired of who she was and what she represented, which was strength, power, and feminism. Her passion and fierceness inspired me to meticulously choose to grow all her vegetation that she painted. So here is part of the project that I did. Here is like a painting that I did, which I thought was really cool. And here's a collage that I made. And here it kind of talks about her most famous paintings and how much they sold for after she died. And this is my favorite Frida Kahlo quote. It says, "Feet, what I need them for when I have wings to fly," which I think is really cool. Japanese gardens. Watashi wa Nihon anime soshite karera no bunka no sunayona ai o sorarete kimashita. So that means I've grown such a love for Japan, anime, and their culture. I'm sure we can all imagine and remember the moment that the pandemic invaded our lives. The panic, the fear, and the unknown. My mom had just given birth to my baby brother, and what originally started as being home for a few weeks turned into stay-at-home orders and virtual school for a year and a half. Our lives were completely turned upside down, and we were consumed with breaking news and just hoping that the numbers would stop rising for all of those affected by the virus. Things were definitely different and scary. I was feeling very overwhelmed, and our reality was just becoming too much. I needed an escape, and normally I would be building a new garden bed or somehow in the soil, but it seems selfish to ask for those things when the basic necessities were a task to get. So, the beauty of the internet, I would virtually travel to Japan and study the Japanese gardens and all that they offer. All right. The main purpose of a Japanese garden is to bring serenity and nature into our crowded lives. They remind us of the natural landscape, but in fact, they are carefully controlled by man. Buddhism, Taoism, and Shintoism were used in the creation of different garden styles in order to bring a spiritual sense to the garden and make them places where people could spend their time in a peaceful and meditative way. So, the Japanese gardens that I mainly researched and looked at was this one. This one is called Roanji Temple. It's an extremely famous Japanese garden. Um, and then this one is called the Jinkakuji, which is also a temple. This one is the Saihoji, which, if you look, it's actually completely made out of moss, which I thought was absolutely incredible. And it's self sustaining, which is awesome. And the last one I looked at is called Ashikaga Wisteria Park. So, wisteria are all of these flowers that you see like draping down, which I thought was really, really beautiful. And actually, different times of the year, the flowers will change from different colors, like based on the weather. All right, nourish. My traditional medicine garden. My traditional medicine garden was where I was able to get in tune with my Native American roots and go deep into hundreds and hundreds of medicines that were used naturally, grown without pesticides, chemicals, or any added fillers, and no corporation high markups. Not to say that traditional medicine should replace Western medicine, but this holistic approach should not be forgotten or ignored. Many of these medicines have been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, and in a time where we ourselves are oversaturated with pills and prescriptions, I learned natural ways to remedy everyday illnesses. So these are all the things that I grew. There's white sage, fennel, spearmint, passion flower, wheatgrass, hops, peppermint, wheatgrass, and milkweed. So, for example, you could use wheatgrass in like a blended drink to purify your system and just get rid of all that yucky stuff that you might have going on in your body. Spearmint and peppermint and lemongrass used when dry. You can make a tea out of them, like mint tea or whatever, to help your throat. Hops, I've actually made a hops tincture that you're supposed to put like little droplets in your water to help you sleep better, which I thought was really cool. And sage, of course, you can just dry it out and burn it to get rid of all of the bad energy and bad vibes that you want out of like a certain space or, I mean, your house or things like that. So here are a few pictures of me when I did this garden. So as you can see, the sage is here, the milkweed. We have lots of fennel in the back, and the passion flowers up against this trellis. And I did a little poster on natural remedies versus Western medicine. And here is a picture of me giving a tour of my garden and kind of speaking a little bit about it. Social. We are now at our third and last measure, which is social. I may have perceived this a little differently and looking at it through a different lens. So I would like to I would like to touch up upon social integration and social change. My dream has always been to bring awareness and teach kids of all ages that different are the benefits of gardening, so they too can be innovators and creators of their own dreams. Maybe together we can fight real issues and bring an end to those in need, because healthy eating should always be an option for all, not just a luxury. For too long, living and eating a healthier lifestyle has come at a cost. So here I actually found this table where it shows the disparity between non-organic food and organic food. And as you can see, literally with the strawberries, it's a ginormous difference. This was last updated in 2012, but because of COVID, I can only imagine how much more different it is now. My Seed to Table Club. There was a time when my gardening program was in jeopardy. I wasn't sure if it would continue and my years of hard work would be replaced or be just an afterthought. I decided to hop into action mode. I made phone calls, scheduled meetings, and wrote letters to the school directors, teachers, and staff. I offered to work in the gardens for free, come in early, stay late, and even on the weekends if need be. They knew that I meant business and wasn't going to go anywhere with my requests anytime soon. So I was given an opportunity to start my own Seat to Table club where I was able to educate, create, and be mindful of the needs of my peers. There are true benefits of planting seeds of knowledge. My classes were filled with excited students and they loved being so hands-on. Skills such as communication, problem solving, collaboration are all being used while immersed in the garden. Working together and pushing each other to new heights are skills that will be carried with them throughout their life. All right. Now I'm going to speak about the Parkland shooting that happened back in 2018. So now I will move into a more serious issue to show how I used gardening for social change and how I shed light on gun violence. Back on February 14th, 2018, 17 precious lives were lost. These are everyone who passed that day. Within 5 weeks of the incident, the Parkland students organized a massive protest. My school, along with tons of other schools, marched with love and solidarity. I was so heartbroken by the fact that these students and faculty members could never return back to their families. I knew I had to do something, so I decided to honor their lives by building and creating a 17 garden where I planted different 17 plants for each living soul that was taken away tragically way too soon. This is an example of where I boldly took a stand against gun violence and was allowed freedom of expression through my garden. My hope is it will bring real awareness that real lives were lost and that they should never, ever, ever be forgotten. Gun violence can lead to a violation to the most fundamental human right, the right to live. So here are a few pictures of my 17 garden. So the picture is kind of hard to see, but this is one garden bed, so representing the number 1. And then this garden bed is actually in the shape of a 7, so 17 garden. And here is an example of a plant that I planted for Alyssa. So now I will play just a short little video. If we can get out of this. There we go.
To the leaders, skeptics, and cynics who told us to sit down and stay silent, wait your turn. Welcome to the revolution. It all starts with you. The march is not the climax of this movement, it is the beginning.
I made this sign and it says I am not bulletproof. I don't want to like go to school and then have like someone come into my school and just start shooting at kids.
I have to keep my guard up, which is really dumb because school is for education, for safety, but not anymore, so.
I think it's really important that we're here because we're teenagers and we're the ones being affected by this the most. We're the ones in the schools. It gets closer and closer to home every single time, and it just leaves you wondering.
I want to come to the march so we could save all the schools.
It was traumatizing just getting texts from your sister saying that there's a shooter walking through the halls, saying he's gonna come, he's banging, he's at the door, I love you. She apologized for being so mean to me, even though she's not. It's just really scary, you know, just something that I wish nobody, even my worst enemy, I wouldn't wish that upon them.
I want to be safe because I like a lot of people and I don't really want them to die.
This is one thing that we get to take for ourselves and show everybody else that, you know, we have a voice and that we will stand and fight for what's right, and we feel as if this is right.
I'm here today so the kids won't get shot.
It actually makes me feel really sad, the fact that this is still going on, because there have been so many school shootings. Like, when is it going to be enough for the politicians to say that this is enough? It needs to stop.
Okay, so I always end any kind of presentation that I do or speech that I do with the same quote. So today is no different. So the quote is, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And thank you. So that was my presentation. Please let me know if you guys have any kinds of questions that I can answer or comments or.
Hi, Emma. I have a comment and a question. Beautiful presentation, first off, and I love how you have connected gardening with so many of your other interests. I have a question about who else supported you and worked with you in all of your gardening projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's super sweet of you. I actually was mentored by Paul Hudak for a really long time. And then, so he was kind of my main support system for, I think, about 5 years, I think, Paul, if that sounds right. Yeah. And then, of course, my parents were a huge support for me. Elliot was a huge support for me. And then my more newer gardening teacher, her name is Alexis, and another gardening teacher named Rick was also a big help with me and my gardening journey. So I hope that made sense. Yeah, okay, great.
Hi, I have a question. Where can the 17 garden be found? Is that on campus or at your house?
It's on campus at my school.
Oh, how nice.
Yes.
Very inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Thank you for listening.
I have a question. My question is, what got you into like gardening, or what was like an inspiration?
Okay, sorry, I think I got an email. What got me into gardening was just like the struggles I was going through as like a little girl, being the smallest in my class and always being picked on for being called the teacher's pet, even though I was just nice to my teachers. So that really inspired me to do something that was bigger than myself and bigger than the people who would make fun of me or call me names. So that's definitely how I started gardening. And I think with everything I do, that still is like the true inspiration for me to always do like what I love to do, because gardening is like bigger than all of us, and it's definitely bigger than myself. So I think that is always the core of my projects.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I would like to hand over the mic to Raquel. Whenever you're ready, Raquel.
Okay, hello, good morning. Unfortunately, my camera is not working, but I will be sharing my screen. My name is Raquel Garcia. I am a senior at Odyssey STEM Academy. And I'll be talking about just my whole vegan experience. Why I went vegan. It first started off as kind of like a COVID experimentation kind of phase. I did a lot of things that I didn't think I would do over the pandemic, like going vegan, or just like fun little things like that. Like I shaved my eyebrows once. It was kind of just like experimentation. But yeah, so it started off for fun, and then I would come to the webinars, and then that also kind of nudged me to start thinking more about my health. And then we recently found out that someone really close to me has diabetes, and I'm starting to learn more about the effects the effects of what you put into your body, like how it affects your life. So doing that, I started researching more stuff. Like I watched What the Health on Netflix. It's a documentary about just like your health, and then just food in general, like that is sold to us. And then like I said, I learned a lot about what we put into our body and how it affects us. So besides just the documentary, I was also doing research on my own time. And then also the thing that kind of pushed me over the border was the back pain I've been struggling with. I was in a car accident a couple years ago, and the back pain has never gone away. And when I was vegan, I noticed that the back pain was not there, or it was just like barely even there. So I saw a really big difference. Difficulties. I come from a very traditional Mexican family, and they are very set on their ways. So my parents did not approve of it. And then along with that, the rest of my family kind of thought they could also put in their 2 cents, which I know it was coming from a place of love and caring, but it was really hard because it was kind of like I was alone in my journey. I was constantly having to fight for like what I believed in and wanting to kind of put better stuff into my body, which is no meat and milk, which they think is really important. So that was hard. And then the different diet, kind of like I said, no meat, no dairy, and then just having vegetables. Like I said, I was alone in my journey. And then nutrition, I had to make sure that I was properly providing nutrition for myself. So I knew I had to take iron supplements, stuff like that, things that I couldn't get out of the regular, like, I guess you could say traditional way from other food that I was not eating anymore. And then a difficulty is that I would actually get into a lot of arguments, and it was kind of really hard because I was alone with it. So I was forced to stop. Sadly, I would like to go back, but I think I will be making that transition again very soon. Some benefits that I saw again, the pain went away. Also, I just had more energy overall. I was in a way better mood. I noticed that when I was, like before I went vegan, I was constantly mad and tired. But after, I was just in a better mood, and I was full of energy. I was happy. And yeah, so I just felt better overall. And then also another benefit, I forgot to put it on there, but it was that like I could see the changes in my body. So it was, even though it was just for a short time, I think I did it for like 2 months. I did see a lot of benefits. I did see all the changes, so that was really good. And then the things I learned along the way, I picked up and I learned some substitutes. So like for egg, it's because while I was cooking, I had to at my house, there was only things that my family would eat. So there was a bunch of eggs, meat, and dairy, and I couldn't eat that. So I had to find out different ways to kind of provide that for myself. So like for eggs, I used aquafaba, which is just the chickpea, I think the juice. I'm not sure what it's called, the chickpea water. Applesauce is also an egg alternative, and then tofu. And then for meat, I used lentils, cut up mushroom, and tofu. And also, I think, yeah, I think I tried it one time. It was eggplant, and then it was just seasoned, and that was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, but I used it. And then for dairy, so I kind of just classified everything like that's dairy into dairy. So like for cheese, you can make cheese with cashews or different nuts, just like milk. Like I would drink the coconut milk or like almond milk, stuff like that with different nuts and like the coconut, like I said. And like for the sour cream, I've done cashew sour cream. So it's really just utilizing different nuts and stuff I could use around my house and stuff I could find to kind of implement it into my new diet. And then recipes. So the first recipe is stuffed bell peppers. So of course you get your bell peppers, tomatoes, chili peppers, onion, mushroom, quinoa, and garlic salt. There's no specific measurements, so you eyeball it, whatever to your liking. And this recipe, it was okay. It wasn't my favorite. I would have liked to have other stuff, but the things that I did use were really good. And then we put it into the oven at 350. I forgot the exact time, but it doesn't take that long and it's pretty good. And then also it's pretty filling. And then the second recipe, my family would eat a lot of stuff like this, like my mom, she would make us breakfast like with stuff like this. So this one is kind of like a vegan twist on nopales con huevo. So we use the canned nopales, but you could also use the fresh ones. And then some onion, garlic, tomato, and then instead of the egg, I put tofu and then garlic, salt, and olive oil. So the way to kind of do it is you put the olive oil and garlic into the pan for a little. And then after, I want to say like 5 minutes, I don't know, there's no set time. You add in the onion, and then after it gets transparent, you add in your tomato and then your nopales, and then kind of just let it soak up the flavor, just after a little. And then you put in your tofu, and then with the garlic salt, and of course to tasting. But yeah, so I don't know, it's just like recipes that you could find or that you have always eaten in my case. And it's just finding like a different way to do it, just like a little twist. That's how I think it was easier for me, because it was things that I was already familiar with and things I knew, and then just altering them a little bit to be vegan. That's about it. Thank you so much for listening. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question, Raquel. First, I applaud you on going on this journey. Thank you for sharing your story with us. Anything is new is challenging, and especially if you don't have the support of friends and family. So I'm impressed that you did that. I wonder, I know now now you say you're not vegan, and I wonder if you have incorporated if you have made any changes to your diet now that came from your time when you were being vegan.
Yeah, so although I do eat cheese now, because I'm really big on cheese. Like I love cheese, so I do eat that. But when I can, I do go the other route. So I still have some of the cashew cheese in my fridge that I like to use, and kind of really incorporating the nuts and the vegetables. So I do still implement that. It's just now I do eat some meat and dairy, but I don't eat eggs.
I also wonder, sorry, I have a follow-up. You said that you felt better, your body felt better when you were eating vegan. And I wonder now that you have reincorporated some meat, some cheese back into your diet, how that has affected how you feel.
Yeah, so now that I do eat everything, the back pain or like just the pain in general is back. Um, I do really feel the difference, like all the food that we usually consume or what is the norm really takes a toll on our body. And I really did see the difference from the transition from being vegan to not being vegan and then coming back. So yes, I did really see the difference.
Well, if there's no more questions, I would like to pass the phone off to Rocio and Jasmine. I hope I'm not pronouncing that wrong. Take it away.
Good morning. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen.
So hi, I'm Jasmine and this is Rocio, and we're both Project Insight Fellows.
So Project Insight is a big picture learning partner who supports high school students in supporting them to pursue their interests within the eye health community by connecting them with professional mentors.
Now, the substances we'll be discussing today are smoking, or how smoking and drinking can have an impact on our vision. And it's always best to remember that our entire body is connected and the actions we make do have consequences.
Okay, so a little bit about the eye. So, okay, so this is the front of the eye. So the light will enter through the cornea, then it will reach the pupil, surpass the pupil, sorry, and then enter through the crystalline lens, which is this, and then go to the back where the retina is, and then change into electrochemical signals, and then pass through the optic nerve, and then that's how we are able to see, because it will reach the brain. So we will start off by talking about how smoking affects our eyes. So smoking agents are very harmful to the body, and as Jasmine mentioned, our entire body is connected. So by smoking, the smoke increases our possibilities of developing eye conditions and diseases, which may lead to irreversible eye damage if done in the long run. So a little bit about the diseases and conditions that can be developed. So cataracts, age-related macular degeneration, uveitis, diabetic retinopathy, dry eye syndrome, and can all be developed when smoking, as well as secondhand smokers can develop pregnancy and infant diseases. So cataracts, I kind of like to think of it kind of like a window. So we need our window to be clear in order for light to surpass and then us to get the light in. So let's say the optic nerve is where we want the light to reach. So if our window is dirty, our cataract is foggy and cloudy, light will get absorbed and not be able to pass beyond. So then we won't be able to see. So then we have age-related macular degeneration, which is degeneration of the macula. So our macula is where we have our central vision and our most sharpest vision. So if it's beginning to degenerate and it's not fully functioning, then our central vision and our sharp vision is not there anymore. So then we have uveitis, which is inflammation of the iris, ciliary body, and choroid. Then we have diabetic retinopathy, which is damage to the blood vessels in the retina. So our blood vessels support and maintain our retina. And as I mentioned before, the retina is where our optic nerve is at, and without our optic nerve and our retina, we won't be able to see because the light won't be able to pass through the nerves and go into the brain. So we really need it to be healthy. So then we have dry eye syndrome. So that's when our eyes start to feel like itchy and there's not like enough tear production. So our eye isn't lubricated enough, and it can affect the rest of the eye. So for secondhand smokers, people who are not smoking but are surrounded by those who do smoke can also be affected because those dangerous toxins are still in the air and will still eventually reach the eye and the brain and can affect just as much as someone who does smoke. So an example can be like a pregnant woman who lives with someone who smokes, although they don't smoke, the pregnant woman doesn't smoke. So if she's inhaling all that, then and like the smoke will eventually reach the baby in the uterus, and the baby will develop diseases and conditions in the long run. So this is kind of like a point of view. So someone with glaucoma, cataracts, diabetic retinopathy, and macular degeneration, this is what they see. So as I mentioned before, you can reduce the possibilities of developing these conditions and diseases by avoiding smoking. Once damage is made to the retina, it cannot be reversed because it's like so far back and it's like nerves and all that. So glaucoma cannot be reversed. I know cataracts, you can remove the cataract and place in a new one, but you might want to prevent that. Like you can save yourself from going through all that.
Now, some alcohol effects on our vision are changes in eye movement, which can affect our daily activities, such as driving. Blurred vision, which due to alcohol, it affects our the way our eye muscles work together. Changes in pupil size, which could affect our pupil reaction time and can lead to a slower delayed response, which will affect how quickly you can adapt to light. Yellowed eyes. Now, we know that drinking alcohol can cause liver damage, but how does it affect our eyes? Well, the liver damage can cause jaundice, which involves the sclera to turn yellow. Another effect is keratitis, which involves inflammation in the cornea, which can lead to corneal perforations or ulcers and damage vision. And finally, alcohol can also damage our optic nerve, which can lead to optic neuropathy and vision loss. And these are some examples of how the eye will look if you have one of these effects. Now, I know most of us, well, not most of us here in the meeting, but I know a lot of people like to smoke and drink, but it's always best to know that it won't just affect us, but it'll also have an impact on the people around us. And it's always best to avoid these substances because it'll not only help you, but it'll also help the people around you. It'll also help you have a better quality of life, and it can help you save all the trouble of going through all those effects.
So now what can we do as a community? So I always like to say that I like to get educated in order to be able to educate others. So I like to learn in order to help pass on the message and impact the community. So you can also avoid temptations and peer pressure. I know sometimes it can be tempting, but you also want to rethink. And, I like to think that, well, I know that our vision is the reason as to why we see colors and we're able to see our loved ones and enjoy life. So just always think about that. Also go outside, but don't forget your sunglasses because your sunglasses will protect you from those UV rays and avoid to help prevent macular degeneration in the future. So you can also get an annual eye exam, and this is important because it will help doctors detect and prevent and kind of form like the base and help with your progression in the future. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a question for you. First, I love how you're connecting your interest in eye care and eye health with the 6 measures. I think there's some really amazing connections there that we can all learn from you. I'm wondering in what you've learned, if there was anything that surprised you about the connection of harmful substances and eyesight.
Well, I know that we can get diseases on our bodies, but I didn't really know that can connect to our vision. But like after learning more about how the diseases in our bodies can connect to our vision and how it affects it, I feel like that was something I was able to learn and found interesting.
Yeah, and on my end, I didn't really know much about secondhand smoking. I didn't even know that was a thing. So now I'm like more aware because I feel like it doesn't all just connect back to like a pack of cigarettes. Like it's also like fires and all that is kind of like secondhand smoke. So that was very surprising.
If there's no more questions, I would like to ask Elliot if he has any announcements he would like to make, and then this would be the moment.
I have a quick announcement. Not sure if Elliot is still in the chat, but if you guys are interested or know anyone else who would like to join these webinars, please let me know and I can add them. Also, stay tuned for a newsletter. We're actually going to be starting a Big Picture Living newsletter, most likely either quarterly or monthly, to help share the resources that we're creating and these awesome webinars. Stay tuned for that as well. These will be edited and posted on our YouTube channel as well as our website. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it on my end.
We'll be in touch in the next week about the next date of our next webinar. Everybody have a good day. Thank you for coming.